On September 2nd, 1971, 16-year-old Christine Marie Evert began what would become a personal love affair with the US Open. Taking time out from high school to compete, Evert swept aside 34-year-old Edda Buding 6-1, 6-love in the first round. But the Floridian really caught the eye in her next match, surviving 6 match points before grinding out a 3-set victory over US Fed Cup player Mary Ann Eisel. After that win, the New York Times dubbed Evert Cinderella in sneakers. She had also impressed top seed Billie Jean King, who later said, "A star was born in my eyes that match." 5th seed Françoise Deux and Aussie Open semi-finalist Leslie Hunt also fell to Evert, as she made the last 4 on debut, although her dream run was ended by King, who beat the prodigy 6-3, 6-2 on her way to winning the title. Prior to their encounter, King said of Evert, "I hope she enjoys it because her life will change abruptly. She has no privacy anymore. She belongs to the public." The tennis galleries, and it has to be said, the male-dominated tennis media, certainly enjoyed watching Evert's rise from uncertain teenager to a slayer of giants. Her ascent to global prominence may have been swift, but she had been steadily making a name for herself, winning 46 matches in a row prior to losing to King. This included victory over Margaret Court during an 8-player invitational clay court tournament held in Charlotte, North Carolina in September 1970, a full year before her US Open debut. Evert was 5 when she first took tennis lessons from her father, Jimmy, a professional tennis coach. By 1969, she was the #1 ranked under-14 girl in the US. She played her first senior tournament that year too, reaching the semi-finals in her hometown of Fort Lauderdale before losing ironically to Eisel. She was the youngest semi-finalist of a senior tournament in the sport's history until a 13-year-old Jennifer Capriati made the last 4 in Boca Raton, Florida in 1990. Evert's breakthrough came by winning the National Under-16s Championship. This led to invites to both the clay court event where she beat Court and the US Open that would announce her arrival on the global stage. A few Evert skeptics pointed to a depleted field at Forest Hills that year. Reigning champion Court was pregnant, Wimbledon champion Yvonne Goolagong stayed home, and Virginia Wade, another leading contender, was injured. But it is fair to say Evert's critics were silenced as she became one of the sport's dominant figures of the 70s and 80s. Between 1971 and 1987, Evert reached at least the semis of 48 of the 49 Grand Slams she entered, winning 18 of them. The only blemish was a 3rd-round loss at Wimbledon to Kathy Jordan in 1983. By the time of her retirement in 1989, aged 34, her record stood at 52 semi-final appearances in 56 slams. Evert often skipped the Australian Open, and yet reached the final on all 6 occasions she played in Melbourne, winning the title twice. A dominant figure on clay, with a record 94% win, Evert won 7 titles at Roland Garros from her 13 visits, losing in 2 other finals. Her performances at Wimbledon are often filtered in fans' eyes through the prism of her rivalry with Martina Navratilova. They met 9 times in 13 years at SW19, more than at any other slam, and contested 5 finals in 1978, 1979, 1982, 1984 and 1985, all won by Navratilova. Evert did lift the Venus Rosewater dish 3 times, but more often than not she was the bridesmaid at others' parties. However, the US Open was her playground. Between 1971 and 1989, Evert won 101 out of 114 matches on the grass and clay at Forest Hills and the hard courts of Flushing Meadows, reaching 9 finals and winning 6 of them, a record for the tournament she shares with Serena Williams. The teenager who so captivated the public couldn't break beyond the semi-finals, losing to King, Kerry Melville, Court and Goolagong. But when the tournament switched to clay in 1975, Evert, now 20, came into her own, winning the first of 4 consecutive titles, the last of which came in the first year at Flushing Meadows. She would return to the winner's circle in 1980 and 1982. But it wasn't just the tennis that made her the darling of New York. Her relationship with Jimmy Connors kept them on the front pages of the tabloids throughout the early 1970s, leading to their ultimately doomed engagement and breakup in 1974. And then there was the fashion. At the 1978 US Open, her trademark diamond bracelet flew off her arm, and her match was halted while it was found. It led to the accessory being rebranded a tennis bracelet and remains iconic even today. It speaks to the level of fame and influence Evert had at that stage and how she transcended her sport. It all happened so quickly for the unassuming schoolgirl who took to the court in 1971 and became America's sporting princess. "The US Open was my coming out party, so to speak," Evert said. "It was the first time I was exposed not only to big-time tennis, but the life I was going to lead."